The last stop. I have been on the road for some time now, lost in a starry field of fallen snow. I have long since turned off the radio, its flickering noise distracting me from the road ahead. The only sound that could be heard was the constant light crunch of tires on snow and the gentle rumbling of the engine. I spare a moment to check my mirrors, though I haven't seen anyone for the last few hours, not even the presence of State Snow Patrol, their giant rumbling machines and large snow blades ready to clear the path from the treachery the snow was promising. I glanced down and noticed the low fuel light had flicked on. I felt a slither of panic ride down into my stomach, prompting me out of my light trance and focusing me to look on ahead. Off in the distance, I could see a faint glow through the field of snow, igniting a small hope that this was a nearby gas station, lessening my fears briefly. Soon, I see it up ahead, an overhang with the company logo emblazoned on it, followed by rows of gas pumps, but oddly, no store nearby, just a small shack next to the pumps. With no further preamble, I pull into the station and off to the closest pump, turn my car off, and step out into the cold. The moment I opened the door, I felt the cold bite down onto my exposed face, causing me to flinch and my face to flush instantly. Soon, I could feel needles of piercing cold sinking into every gap and opening, into my admittedly lightweight coat, threatening to sink further into my bones. I hurry over to the pump, card in hand, and manage to clumsily slide the card into the pump and begin fueling. There doesn't appear to be much to the shack, just a few vending machines inside, a couple bathrooms, and a place outside for smokers to sit and stay out of the elements. After looking at the shack, I soon realized just how lonely this made me feel. While I was used to going it alone for the longest time, it would have been nice to see another face out here, even just in passing. I soon start to look over at my car, a very heavily worn but trusty station wagon, inherited from my late grandfather in impeccable condition. The paint had long faded, leaving it a light tannish beige color, with slight dings and dents in the bumper from the adventures that had when my grandfather had been much younger. Since I inherited the car, it's mostly sat, since I don't exactly get out much. But I was very lucky that I could simply work from home. Today was the rare day where I got to break the old boy out and go out on an adventure, just like my grandfather before me. After the thought crossed my mind, I felt my stomach sink. I kept telling myself it was an adventure, but I knew why I was out braving the snow and ice. I had gotten a call today from the doctor about something urgent. My mother has been diagnosed with stage 3 terminal lung cancer, and she may have maybe a month to live. My very mother, who had given everything up to try and raise me, was dying. And here I was, on my way, hoping that she wouldn't leave alone, at least. I swallowed the hard lump growing in the back of my throat and finished pumping the gas, the receipt coming from the pump breaking me away from my thoughts. I quickly get back in the car and start it up, cranking the heat as high as it would go. I simply sat there for a moment, enjoying the warmth. After a few moments, I set the car into drive and lurched my way out of the gas aisle, and begin to make my way back to the road. Before I can get on, however, something catches my eye. A figure walking down the road. By this point, I stop the car and step outside, noting the snow seems to be picking up in intensity, and I made my way over to the figure, hoping to offer the person a ride to spare them some of the cold snow and cold, shouting out to the figure. When I finally got close, to my shock, I see the face of my grandfather grinning back at me. "Long time no see, sonny boy. What you doing out and about in such lousy weather?" "Grandpa, what are you doing here? I could have swore." My grandpa's face blanched. Now, just because I died doesn't mean I will ever truly leave. Now, What be the manner of business that has you out so late? Mom's dying, Grandpa. I just got the news a couple days ago. I feel hot tears begin to well up that I had tried to keep in earlier. I don't know what to do, other than being there for her until she passes. I don't. Once again, Grandpa's face scrunches up. I was afraid of that. Wasn't sure why they brought me back. Looks like they want me to take her home. I guess that makes sense in a way. I felt sobs begin to rack through my body. Why? She gave so much and deserved so much better. My grandpa stood staring at me, face stoic and quiet. Because, my boy, life isn't fair, he said simply. We aren't always promised tomorrow. The best we can do is take in what we have today. You at least get the chance to see her again before her time. I had to go it alone after Grandma passed away. Treasure every moment. My grandfather looked up and stared off in the distance. Weather seems to be getting worse. I see you've done a good job taking care of the old car of mine. She'll see you through, and I'll do what I can to help you get there safely. I turned to see what he had been looking at and noticed the clouds were growing thicker, the wind picking up in speed. I turned to face my grandfather again and found myself staring at the spot where he had once stood. All I could see besides the falling snow and the dim lights from the gas stand island were my own fading tire tracks. Feeling the cold in full, having stood for God knows how long outside, I found myself bounding back into the car, now fully warmed and welcoming. I stared at the spot where my grandfather had stood, trying to process if that encounter had been real, or just a grief-induced hallucination. I wasn't superstitious by any means, but that brief moment had felt all too real. I shook my head, stared up, adjusted the mirror, maybe caught a glimpse of a smile from the reflection, and shifted into drive, feeling the tires crunch as they made their way onto the highway. I didn't truly know what lay ahead. I didn't want to think about going on without my mother. But I remembered grandfather's words, felt some comfort in them, and felt the tightness in my chest ease up. I felt myself accelerating, and was soon swallowed up by the flurry of stars and the endless field of light before me, unsure of what lied ahead.